I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Hot wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Made my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no how the things we do or the trouble.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. I'm here, come here. Cody is here to turn his mic up. Wait. There you go, Cody. Now you're live.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing today?
December the 29th, right at 7 o'clock in the morning a.m. in Victoria, Texas. Excited to be back. Decided a couple of days of being off was enough. I knew we laid the groundwork last week to be off all this week. And then I got a call from BJ Nelson, and she has a project she's working on she wants to discuss tomorrow, which I think is good. I don't know what to do with the sound. If it's not good, I don't know what to do with it. I know that Cody and I were, just see, it says it's popping, which...
That's the same thing that
We've had this issue, and in fact, we were literally just before the show discussing staying after the show and trying to resolve this issue. So everybody's telling me this, and I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to do.
the show must go on.
The show will go on. Yeah, we'll at least get through what we can get through. And I don't know what to do with it. I can tell you that if you've listened to the program for any length of time at all, you know that I despise the electrical issues. I am beyond frustrated with, I just don't think that it's anything to do with what I'm doing right here. I think it's, if you can see the studio, maybe I'll post a picture later of all the wires that are in this room. There is simply nothing to be done.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So question one, for this week, could we call it the Carter and Cody Show?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
All right.
actually simply in Canada.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's the Wade and Carter Show.
Also, your guest today texted me earlier and asked if we had a popcorn machine. Is that something we're looking into?
No.
Okay.
I don't think. Good morning, Bill Booker. No, I don't think we're looking into that.
Okay, I'll let him know.
I want to get you up to speed. There is a wind advisory. It is very, very windy outside.
Yes, sir.
Patio furniture all over my backyard. It is 50 degrees in Victoria, Texas. It says it feels like it's 35. I disagree. It's just 50 degrees.
And windy.
And very windy.
Yeah.
But you're only heading to a high today of 65. So it's going to be, wind is the predominant feature of the day, and then under cloudy skies. So I don't know, and Cody and I welcome any input. There's no ego here as pertains to the problems that we're facing here, by the way, in the Atzenhofer studio. Very, very excited about our affiliation, the enhancement of our affiliation with the Atzenhofer dealerships. Tommy Taylor and his vision for the dealership going forward with fourth generation principalship. They are about to begin their 100th year, so we're very excited to be helping Atzenhofer, we hope, helping Atzenhofer as they grow. You do whatever you want. You feel free. Your dome can be in the picture. You can move wires as we progress. But I'm just watching you go. That mic's dead. We're on magic. Just ignore those folks. There's no doubt that we're on magic. So, top news of the day, a couple of quick hits. We're going to be joined in a little while by our friend MICAH PATTON to talk about VISD and what's coming up, which is great. Can't wait to have that conversation. Love MICAH, love what he's doing for the school district. And so he'll be here. But some quick hits. President Trump to meet today with Benjamin Netanyahu in Mar-a-Lago. They're meeting in Florida today at 1 o'clock Florida time, so noon today, to discuss the next steps after the Gaza ceasefire. That's one thing going on, the Middle East ceasefire with Hamas. A big sticking point still being that both sides, both parties, Netanyahu and Trump, want Hamas disarmed, but neither really know the best way to do that. Do you just walk into the Gaza Strip and go, give me your weapons? I don't know. They're kind of seeking an unconditional surrender from somebody that they're kind of saying, but we're going to respect you as people. So there's a fine line there. Difficult situation that's coming today. They're having that conversation. So that's one thing. 13 people died with over 100 injured yesterday in a passenger train derailment in Mexico. I don't have any details as to exactly what happened, but the key numbers are 13 and over 100. In other news, Mexican President Sheinbaum apparently joining the U.S. logic and beginning to tariff some Chinese goods. I don't know what the results will be for Mexico, but she's trying to cut down on trade with China. I don't know. We made the comment last week that we sure haven't, for somebody who came in very fiery, very much right up in Donald Trump's grill, President Sheinbaum has sure been unnoticeable for 6 months.
Right.
Haven't heard a thing out of her. Haven't made any political statements of any type. So I'll be curious to see what's going to happen with President Sheinbaum, what she's up to. Let's do our roll call. Ricky King, Bobby Leister, and Lisa Poole, the first three in this morning. Junior Samples comes in hot. Linda Crisp, Patrick Strauss. He says it's 24 degrees and feels like 3 in Louisville. Stay inside, brother. Stay inside. John Anderson from the Carolinas, Rena Shear, Tammy Keeling, Randy Langston, Mark Zepeda Jr. says the sound quality was bad. We agree. Scott Snow, Diana Hawes, Bill Bookert, Scott Tomko, Mark Kurtz, and Bob Constantine checks in from Houston. Good morning, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I hope that everyone had a wonderful Christmas holiday. I hope that something through the holiday season reminded you of the fact that it is a religious holiday. I don't have a problem with other faiths and other holidays. I find it interesting that as Americans, because we're just so politically correct, we hesitate to say to somebody Merry Christmas. I'm ashamed of the fact that I find myself in business settings quite often deferring to Happy Holidays because I just wouldn't want to upset somebody. I feel backslidden for that. I feel hypocritical for that because my heart says Merry Christmas. And I pray that you know the reason for the season, but then in certain situations and because you don't want to offend somebody, and I think that's a learned position, right? When I was a little kid, everybody said Merry Christmas to everybody. I had Jewish friends that said Merry Christmas, and they thought it was great because they got gifts. They thought it was great. But now we're very hesitant. We don't want to offend anybody, and yet we've got people who of other faiths who don't worry about offending you. They will get their prayer mat out in the middle of the mall, and they will whatever they want to do. And I agree, Sherry Merritt Jacob says, hey, I don't care. I always say Merry Christmas. Good morning, BJ Nelson. And Junior says, that's one thing about being offended. You can always get unoffended. BJ Nelson comes in with the late comment of the day, scratchy sound. Yes, you missed the 5 minutes prior where we talked about how bad the sound is. Cody and I are going to stay after the show. And in fact, Cody, if you want to go around the studio today and pull wires during the show and see if people say that worked.
It'll turn, even just pulling one kills the show. We've tried it before.
It may not be a bad move.
Well, since Micah's coming on, let's not do it.
Okay, we'll just have to go with scratchy Micah. But that'll be good, and we're looking forward to that. But I'm just curious, like Sherry, I appreciate that you always say Merry Christmas, and it is, it's a good witness for folks to say Merry Christmas. I can't think of a time that I ever wrote Xmas. I've always called it Christmas, and it is a Christmas holiday. It's no different than somebody saying Ramadan or whatever. It's no different than any Kwanzaa. People have their religious holidays or their traditional holidays. It is worth noting that on this date in 1845, Texas became the 28th state of the United States. Now, I don't know why. I'm certain that at some point I learned that Texas was the 28th state. But in my mind, we would have been like closer to the 35th state. You know what I mean? 40th state. Some of those states out west weren't states maybe when we became a state. Utah and Colorado. I don't know if they were or not. No, Colorado wasn't because Texas was part of it. Hi, Funky. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, 28th state, I go up all the New England states, everything up there. Of course, Louisiana, I don't guess was a state at that time.
Is it still a state?
I don't know.
Question mark.
It's a swamp.
All right.
Yeah. So you don't know, but 1845, Texas became the 28th state. So that got that going for you. Let's see. A&M became a university, I think, or a school, college. It was founded, I think, in 1876. I could be wrong. I know Texas was founded in 1883. So Texas became a state in 1845, and 38 years later, the University of Texas was founded. I saw a video or picture yesterday from the Corpus Christi Ship Channel before the old Harbor Bridge, which is the precursor to the new bridge. And they had a lift bridge, and like it just was not very big. It was nothing there but just beachfront. It is amazing how much the coast of Texas has changed over the last 100 years. Amazing, the things that, Corpus was, you didn't have a seawall and like a bulkhead, if you will, going all the way up Ocean Drive. All you had was just the bay and beach, sand, waste area. It's crazy. Corpus, welcome in if you're on KTMV. We love broadcasting to you in Corpus. And we do vow. It's one of our vows. One of our resolutions is to resolve all of the electrical issues. Trey Molina says he saw that photo. Trey backing me up that I'm shooting you straight. So we have that going for us. Got that going. There was a helicopter crash over the weekend. 2 helicopters took off in New Jersey. And apparently it only been in the air for minutes each when they collided mid-air. One burst into flames. They both went down. One pilot was killed. Another was taken to the hospital. I don't know if the pilot in the flaming helicopter was the one that died or not. Could very well not have been. You wonder how that happens. I mean, you've got 2 airplanes in the sky. Like, Cody, you fly drones.
Yes, sir.
What are the odds of you hitting another drone? I mean,
I've had a bird take out one of my drones. drones. Does that count?
That's not good.
No.
Bird won't take out a helicopter usually. So
No.
Yeah.
The bird lost and the drone lost in that one. So.
yeah. Saw one of my neighbors the other day was flying like a drone that he said he could fly it about, I think at speed, he could fly it about 8 minutes, but it would go 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
One of those little
That's
race.
crazy.
And when it went by, it was it went right by, and I was like, "Well, that's crazy." We were walking, and we'd gone around the corner. I said, "Buzz the tower in a minute." He said, "Okay, I'll come by." He puts on a special
Headset.
headset,
Yes,
and
sir.
he's like in the pilot seat of that thing.
Yep.
It's just crazy technology.
That's the brand that I was telling you about earlier.
Pure derivative of military intelligence. I mean, that's where that comes from. Yeah, what did you call that? DSI?
DJI.
DJI. Chinese company that was under attack. We reported it here several months ago that the drone company was supposedly gathering data and sending it back to China. That was alleged by members of the United States government. And then immediately we kind of said, sounds like maybe there's somebody's trying to fetter the marketplace a little bit. Like
Right.
a competing drone company says they're bad, they're spies. Junior Simple says his DJI Mavic Pro gets 30 minutes per battery. So maybe it's Mavic Pro.
No, Mavic is the right
Okay,
one.
good job. And Randy Langston says DJI makes some of the best stuff.
They do.
So Cody was telling me that the government had said, okay, let's kind of shell this idea. You have X number of days, 90 days, to prove what you're alleging about these people. And the government then let it sit on the shelf and never actually got around to do, you know what, we can just put him here with us. They never actually got around to do anything with it. So that's interesting. I mean, if you think about it, they said, yeah, we're upset. These guys they're spies. And then when you get right down to it, they don't do anything to prove it. And now apparently DJI is off the hook, and you can buy their stuff still. They're getting banned but the other people didn't prove that they were guilty, right? Interesting. So we're just you're not on a microphone. We're really looking, JV. You can step in here, sir. No, there's a microphone here. Nobody can hear you. You people need to understand the concept that if you don't talk into a microphone, you're just making noise. Good morning. There you go. That helps. Oh, wow. Joined by MICAH PATTON. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was going to tell the folks. We're going to take a break and talk about your stuff, our stuff, in just a minute. One of the things President Trump reporting this weekend that he believes that there's proximity to a ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war as Ukraine is still attacking Russia and vice versa. But, it gets lost at times that the president is still doing everything he can to broker a ceasefire in that arena. So let's take a quick break, and then I'm going to spend as much time. I want to get as many calls from you folks as we can get. Everything that you want to talk about as pertains to what's going on with our school board. Folks, Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Get to Palace Bingo over the holidays and play bingo. You're helping 7 local charities with great dollar amounts every year, and you can go have some fun and maybe win some money. It's fun. L&L Grill is out there. The food is great. It's good rib sticking, comfort food. You will love being there. USA Concrete Coatings, 578 Home. Let Charlie Garcia and his team come out and help you sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, whatever you want done to your concrete. Dial 578 Home. Vera Cruz Restaurant, get in this first couple of days because I'm sure they're closed Thursday and probably Friday. Get in to Vera Cruz today for the best Tex-Mex in Victoria, in the region, maybe in the world. Great guacamole, salsa, queso, fantastic homemade chips. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Let Allen help you get from here to there. If you have a tow need, reach out to Allen's Wrecker Service. You're sitting on the side of the road, if your vehicle needs a jump, I used to say ladies, if your car needs a jump, but now men, worthless, can't use jumper cables. Call Allen's Wrecker Service. They won't judge. They're not like a golden doodle. They're not going to judge you for being incompetent. Reach out to Allen's and let them jump your vehicle. White Trash Services, this week, BJ Nelson is going to come in and share with us something that's on her heart regarding the volunteer fire departments. BJ Nelson and Doug are going to come in. We can't wait for that. BJ will be here between now and then, 550-1826. That's the number for White Trash Services. And the Dollar Floor Store. If you need flooring, whether you need laminate flooring, engineered wood, hardwood flooring, they could probably help you find reclaimed flooring. Reach out to the Dollar Floor Store. So hello, friend. Welcome in. Seasonals, greetings, happy holidays, Merry Kwanzaa, all of it.
Merry Christmas.
It's all here for you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Y'all sounded great on the way in.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fantastic. I listened on the
It was really
95.9.
was it actually okay?
Oh, no.
It was bad.
Yeah, thanks for having me on such a great sound quality day.
Well, it's good. It's
Not
good.
that the million, y'all have hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Sure.
And I'm used to millions when we have our board meetings. So,
No, I know you're used to
hopefully
a
I've
large
increased the-
arena.
hopefully
Yeah.
I've increased the audience today. I appreciate you putting it on Facebook last night and be reposting it. And
Sure. Yeah, we got you, man.
we're going to drive those revenue dollars today.
Well, I think where I wanted to start with you is up front. Good morning. There's our state rep, Sheriff Louderback. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Apologize for the sound quality this morning. We're working on it. I think I need to reveal or put out there that I'm a proponent of. I am for the inevitable upcoming bond offering from VISD. And feel free to correct, but the numbers I've got, Massimino's $238 million. You'll recall we were going to build a $30 million Justice Center, which now has gone to $50-something million. And nobody really seems to notice that. But we want to hammer on VISD $238,462,228.62. We want to know exactly what our taxes are going to be. I did some math last night and found out that if you have a $250,000 house, your tax, if it's a 10-cent increase, your taxes would go up about $250 a year, $20 a month. That's what could happen. Massimino's. So I think the first thought is, what are we going to get for that?
There's a lot.
That's where I thought I'd just let you go. I'm going to go read a book, and you feel free to.
We got hours. Good. Yeah. This is the longest show of the year. Good. No. So, it's funny. The conversation about this all started back in May. And the conversations about bonds started back in March of 2024. I mean, that's how long ago it really, has started. But, round number, you're about $240 million. And that's touching 18 out of 20 campuses. 18.
And that's doing things like removing shields, removing O'Connor, and maybe doing some additional work at Torres and combining those schools, removing Stroman.
Right.
Which, by the way,
and again, all this is a proposal at the moment, right? Like we're still in discussion phases. We're going to have community discussions. There's going to be more input, but in June of 2025 this year, we had the community. We had the Bond Action Committee come together, which is 43 community members, and that's where this discussion started. And it started small. It started small. It, 35, $45 million in maintenance, bond. And, the thinking was there hasn't been a maintenance bond approved since 2008.
Right. Cody, they just said whatever you did helped the sound. I have no idea what you did.
Great job, Cody.
I'm working on the website.
I don't think he actually did anything.
Not a thing.
He's pulling tons of wires over there.
So see, here's how you start getting what you get. The community feedback is what we live for here. The forum is what we provide. Your input is what drives the show. Jonathan Williams says the bond needs some type of upgrades of athletic facilities, especially that matchbox football locker room. That's totally unrelated to this bond, but I agree 100%. But they've compartmentalized this down, to where we're only dealing with maintenance and
some new construction and demolition.
right.
So, I mean, really, the conversation became a modernization effort. So if you look back in time, which I love history, so I'm one of those people that go back and try and study and try to learn from. But, a lot of these schools that our students attend currently still were built in the mid-50s. A lot of these elementary schools were built in the mid-50s. There were some additions made in the early 70s, mid-80s. So your schools went from 200 students to 350, 400 students. I mean, additions have been added on. So now you've got schools that have been there since 1956 that are still functioning, but they need modernization. They need new structure. They need, it just has to happen. And unfortunately, focuses have shifted in past administrations, and other things happened with other school boards and things like that it just didn't make sense. And now you're looking at it and it's like, okay, let's solve a lot of problems. And how do we do it? Instead of piecemealing it, we talked about piecemealing it. We'll do a bond in November. We'll do a bond in May. We'll do a bond in November. We'll just keep doing it year after year. And so many community members said, no, we want it all in one shot. We want to get this done so that it stays consistent. We keep a consistent tax rate. We don't have to guess. We don't have to fight the same battle. You don't have to see me come on the radio show in October, hey, we got a bond November, we don't.
You guys have been very upfront and very transparent. That's such a buzzword; it gets overused. But you've been very transparent to where here's what our needs are. Here's how we intend to use it. And like Michelle was in August says, how old is St. Joe? Parts of St. Joe are almost 100 years old. I don't know, 60, 70 years old.
Yeah, we've got the same, but that's one. They have one structure.
No, that's right. You've got 50.
We've got 23, 24.
Well, see, I went back and visited with some people that said, look, for example, our buddy Emmett Alvarez, big proponent of keeping Stroman. Of course, he went to Stroman. It's got some nostalgia for him. It's a dump, okay? It was a dump when it was built. It was inadequate when it was built. It was always a dump.
Well, so Stroman, for instance, was on the 2020 bond. Going back in history, there were three bonds proposed in 2020. You had Stroman renovation, which would have made it Stroman Middle School, still middle school, for 1,200 something students. That was in 2020. None of our middle schools currently have 1,200 students.
No, and it was also when you get the layers off that onion a little bit, you start realizing Stroman was designed at a time when we had open campuses. The ingress and egress, the security of our younger students is almost impossible to guarantee at Stroman. And you throw in the fact that the way that the school was designed for a high school is not conducive to, the bathrooms aren't the same. Everything, it would have cost more money to fix Stroman than tearing it down and rebuilding.
5 years ago, that bond was $70 million to fix Stroman. That was the bond proposal.
There you go.
Million.
Jonathan Williams solves two problems.
5
Stroman
years.
Was a dump and a fire hazard. Raise it, sell the property, and put up a hotel for the fancy new community center.
Well, and so what
not a
happened?
bad idea.
What happened with Stroman was, of course, it has the mold issues. You have all the abatement issues with asbestos. You have the size and the design. So you have a lot of things. So the students that were attending middle school there when that was the middle school, all moved over to STEM Middle School, which is Victoria High. So they moved over there. And then that school's been used for DAEP, the outer ring, not the internal tower, which is the asbestos and mold part.
I was
of
going
it.
to say, make a note,
Right,
if
the
your
outer-
kid
yeah,
gets
no.
in trouble, they don't care if it's exposed to
No,
asbestos. Not a
the outer
problem.
ring, which was, but what has happened is that facility cost the school district $500,000 a year in insurance costs, operations costs, just to have there. And
Just
so
to sit there.
it has been there for 5 years, and it's basically, had a few hundred students with DAP and Success Academy. Those students have moved on to other facility, FW Gross, and then we've got other students over at VC doing credit recovery. So right now, technically, we have maybe 50 students using the outer ring, and it's $500,000.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
it just doesn't make sense to have it there anymore. It's a huge facility. I mean, the campus, you've got the football fields, you got the baseball field back there. I mean, everything that Victoria High had, Stroman had. So it's a huge facility, and it's just time to move on from it. And
Yep.
so many community members on that committee have said the same. They're like, yeah, this just doesn't make sense.
Once
to
you
have
look
it
at
there.
the cost and benefit. Good morning, Tommy
Yeah.
Kingston. Norm Burgess adds it's 30 degrees in Frisco. Norm is usually a pretty good barometer or thermometer to let you know that tomorrow is going to be colder in Victoria. He's got it figured out. Michelle Hawkins says, look, Victoria High was deemed unsafe. They built 2 new schools and they still use the building. Hey, Ryan Sweezy, he's over in Houston.
I don't know when Victoria.
I don't think it was ever
deemed
deemed
unsafe,
unsafe. It was deemed a dump, and like even what we call the new building had plumbing issues.
Well,
you know.
and so the new building. So my 7th grader goes to STEM Middle School, which is the old Victoria High,
Right.
and it's unique.
Are they in the building
They're in the
that's on
B.
Sam Houston?
They're in
Or are
the
they in the
Sam
building that's on
Yeah, they're in the- They're in the
Peoria?
V. No, they're in the V.
Okay.
They're in the building on Sam Houston.
Okay. That's the old building.
That's the old building, and there's issues, and we've identified those issues. And so part of this bond is basically taking that facility, modernizing it for the middle school, and also Smith. So you went to Smith,
Yep.
right across the street.
It was old when I was there.
So Smith would move into the new building, which is the Miori building.
Which you can see from Smith. It's right there.
It's right across the street. And the Miori building has been re-envisioned as an elementary STEM, which Smith is the STEM pathway right now for elementary school. But you move that into that facility. And it's all about utilization. So you have a huge facility there. It's separate. That building's separate from the main building. Right?
But equal.
But it's being re-envisioned and saying, okay, now we have a K-8 STEM academy. We have all the STEM labs. We have all the STEM equipment. We have all these facilities that we can utilize. And it does the same. It utilizes a building that's sitting there that's structurally sound. I mean, that's the new building,
Right.
structurally sound. It needs revamping. It's been robbed for, piecemealed out for maintenance issues at other places, whether it's ACs or whatever. But it's okay, let's utilize it. And so it's being re-envisioned that way. But it's a very encompassing bond proposal that we've been looking at. Lots of things getting touched. All the new buildings, east, west, that need updating and just
They're 15 years old
just
now.
need maintenance.
They're 15 years old.
That's all getting done. You've got Shields, like we talked about. Shields has been a problem child. I look back at the 2020 videos, and in 2020 they were talking about demolishing Shields in 2025. They were putting it on the board, and it had already been talked about being demolished. So here we are at the end of 2025. We're still talking about demolishing Shields. But, I mean, we have room. You have Crane, which is a block away. You have Chandler. You have, other schools right in that area, Roland right up the road. So you have places where students that, there's room the students can go to. And yeah, I mean, we've talked to different community members and we've gotten input, and we're going to have those conversations before, the board decides to vote. But We've got the
Ricky King
representation.
says, I thought we ought to tear it down and build a sports facility there for the school districts so they can have their own football fields, baseball fields, and soccer fields. And see, this is where vision and long-term cooperative effort comes into play, because in an ideal world, you would build a new stadium out maybe off the loop, out, just out off 59 somewhere, where you could potentially work with A&M Victoria in the future if A&M Victoria decided to bring football, or you could build a stadium with a track where you could host regional track meets, and then you could build, baseball fields and all that. There are baseball fields at both East and West High School. The problem is, and always has been, there's no restroom facilities and there are no dugouts. Like, if you're going to play a baseball tournament and you want to use those fields to help host, there are no lights, there are no restrooms, and there are no dugouts, and there are no locker rooms, because back when they first built these schools in 2009, 10, 11, the money was tight and they didn't do them right the first time. So now if you want to go in and do these things, you're talking about a tremendous expense. It sounds simple enough. Well, let's just add some bathrooms, and when we do, we'll make that into a snack bar. And the next thing you know, you've spent $3 million at each school, almost $1 million to put the LED lights around the field.
It's wishful to think it's $1 million or $3 million.
See, I agree.
No, but Ricky's right. And so we had a workshop, a board workshop a couple of weeks back, and we had some community members come in and talk about the need for, an athletics component to the bond. And everybody kind of, we definitely talked about it. We felt like, okay, we need more input when it comes to that. And the community committee that we had said, look, let's focus strictly on scholastic, educational facilities for this one, and we can come back to the sports side of it later. It's not something that we haven't talked about. It's not something that we aren't planning on talking about and doing something, but we're just not doing it at the moment because we need more input from there. And we had, community members come in and speak and advocate for it. I agree. I would love, and I've talked to Ash, I've talked to you a little bit about it. I would love to see a VISD sports facility complex right there where we're talking about at the Victoria High, because we already have Memorial, right? So Memorial needs to work, but we have plenty of parking. So, you've got parking lots. We don't have to spend millions of dollars building new parking lots. We've got parking lots.
You can spend $1 million redoing those parking lots.
But we've got a baseball field, like you said.
It needs to be flipped. It needs to have some additions done to it.
We would love to have our own softball, our own track. We would love to have those facilities. And you can have it all centralized. That was one of the things, a couple of the engineering firms that have come in and talked to us, and architecture firms, they're like, what's y'all's strength? And I was like, we're land rich. VISD is land rich.
Yep.
So we have space to do these things, and it's just planning it and
utilizing it. Well, if you go up and if you see an aerial photo, it's real easy. So, the field house building that's been there since the 60s, with the garage doors, you just raise that. Get rid of it, okay? The only thing that's in there that matters is Spencer Gant's office. The rest of it's just like we use it sometimes. It's worthless space.
Well, and so the swim teams and the powerlifting, or the swim teams and the wrestling teams use that facility for practices and weight rooms and all that.
We'll build them a weight room.
There's better ways.
You could when you redo your stadium. Now, I don't know how we can't just all go to Patty Welder and play our football games for a year, but
Patty Welder needs work.
No, Patty Welder needs them. Yeah, that feels.
But I played on Patty Welder when I was in high school. I think we came over and played St. Joe a few times for scrimmages.
It's still dangerous. That stadium's dangerous.
My youth football teams played some football games there last season. So,
but you need to tear down Memorial Stadium, or you need to put in a new track around in that stadium, or have a track that you can use. And then you flip the baseball field where it is right now, put home plate over there off of Airline. And then where the track is now, that's just a practice track, you just eliminate that, and that's where you put your softball field. And then you've got enough room. There's enough land. I've seen the aerials, and you're like, man, there's so much land there. You could make it work.
You could make it work. And then you could have there's a bunch of visions, and it's great space. And it's just, believe me, we're not going to worry about Wi-Fi on a walking track or anything like that.
Right.
We want to utilize these spaces, and that's a big thing that the superintendent and I and several other board members, when we have our candid, talks about these things, we're like, hey, we can envision this as a modern Victoria VISD. What is it going to look like for the next 40, 50 years moving forward?
Well, let's go back, though. If you're trying to get $238 million now, that, by the way, no matter how we got here, no matter how you feel about past boards, past superintendents, the perception of past sins, the reality is the school district needs $238 million. None of the stuff that you're requesting or going to request in this upcoming bond, none of it is for fun and giggles and landscaping and, oh, this is going to be so cool, we're going to paint this green. None of that. It's all like air conditioners, new roofs, new consolidating campuses, eliminating expensive campuses like Stroman, but putting those kids into an updated facility across town that doesn't cost $500,000 a year to maintain, those types of things. Now, when you move on to sports, in no time at all, just the little things we've talked about, a stadium, a track, some baseball, lights, we could talk another $200 million in a heartbeat.
200 million. We might put a dome in at 200 million, but
well, I'm all for a dome.
It's structurally, if you're talking in sports, you're in 75 to 100. But again, it's utilization, right? Like I told you this. I went to the valley, bird hunting with some buddies from A&M, and we were down there. We went and watched at Brownsville. We went to Sam Stadium down there in Brownsville. We were watching the Harlingen Cardinals play, and we were down there for that. And that field, Sam Stadium, they reimagined it, right? They didn't build a new stadium. They just re-envisioned how to utilize it. They have state championship soccer teams, so they were like, hey, we want to widen this, do this. We want to host more soccer. We want to host UT Rio Grande Valley soccer. Mm-hmm. We want to host UT Rio Grande Valley football games. And so they reimagined it and said, let's do this. And so they were able to do it for right around $10, $12 million. This was, 5-6 years ago, but they now not only are there all their high school, games being played there, now they have college sports being played there. We have the same with A&M Victoria. So, it's like, okay, how do we utilize this? How do we make sure that all Victoria is being able to play and come and see and attend sporting events? And then how do we make it the scale and size, properly for those games? Because East and West, when they play the Battle of the Boot, that's probably the most well-attended football game of the season.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if East is playing somebody else or West is playing somebody else. When those two teams play, that's probably your most well-attended. You were there. I was there.
Oh, yeah.
Both sides virtually filled. There's still a few seats up at the top, but, it's virtually filled. And so how do we scale a stadium? How do we scale a surface, the right way to make sure everybody can utilize it, and then it generates revenues from attending and from rental and, all that good stuff.
We talk about putting lipstick on a pig. I'm not convinced that the school district couldn't, if the school district were to go to the city and say, we want to grandfather our ADA responsibility for the press box. Because, see, the big problem at the stadium is any renovation you do triggers the fact that you need to bring it up to code. And we don't have adequate handicapped seating, for example, and we don't. Most new stadiums, they have little enclaves where you can put somebody in a wheelchair and they're comfortable and they feel like they're part of the experience. They're not just kind of off on the side by the ramp where the next thing you know, they're rolling down and into the flower bed. So you've got that to deal with. But in an ideal world, you could go up there, scrape the press box that's there, build a new one, add an elevator, and move on. But it's not that easy because nowadays you have to have a restroom up there. There's a lot of ADA stuff that you've got to do that I'm all for, except that we give variances in the city all the time for people that are renovating antiquated or old space. It happens all the time. This building that I'm in right here, if you're handicapped, you're just not coming up here. Just the way it is.
There you go.
Okay,
No,
it's been renovated. So
there's ways to do it, but I would say
well, Monty Howard, who does schools for a living, he's an architect. You can't really grandfather accessibility. Okay, so then let's tear it down. But we need better snack bars. It needs better accessibility. It is a dump. The stadium is a dump.
No, and you know, that's the thing. I saw your comment about the bands in concession stands. That I think, you know, I went to we had the youth team play over in Industrial, and one of the moms was saying, "Hey, you know, when y'all's youth team plays, y'all don't operate a concession stand." I was like, "No, we use a food truck. We have, you know, we outsource our concessions." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Well, because we're already asking our parents to do a lot for youth football." I said, "Can you imagine asking them to sit underneath in the concession stand where they can't watch the football game, they can't see their kid play,
right?
They paid all, you know." And I was like, it's just not fair. So I think when we envision a stadium, you know, there's parts of Memorial, the playing surface. We get so many compliments about the playing surface at Memorial.
Field,
the frost
good
field,
job.
Yeah, the turf and everything is fantastic. Now, is the stadium itself fan friendly? No. I mean, it may have been 40 years ago,
50.
Yeah. So, but it's not now. I mean, it's such a sprawling space, and it's not conducive to sound. It's not conducive to the fan experience, and that's where we've lost a lot of fans because it's easier for people to sit at home, watch the game, you know, streaming on their service or their phone, or you know, hear the news or whatever. They don't. Oh, you know, I don't want to put up with the crowd. I don't want to put up with the security. I don't want to put up with the parking. So how do we make it more of an experience to attract people to come in, buy a ticket, and spend their Friday nights and Thursday nights and Mondays and Tuesdays? And because I was there this year, you know, I had a 7th grader playing ball. We had JV, you know, friends on the JV teams that we went and watched. We had varsity kids that we went and watched. So, yeah, I mean, we just went to a lot of football games.
Jennifer Rayburn adds, so this is a good example of me. I'll fall on this sword. This is where, like, in my ignorance, and that's the key word, in my ignorance, I'm thinking, hey, I can solve this problem. But keep in mind, ADA compliance is a federal act. Local government likely could not override. The upgrades are dependent on percentage of improvement. There's a part of me that I've gone to Houston and gone to a game at the U of H stadium. Now, granted, that stadium probably holds 55, 60,000 people. We need one that holds 15,000 people, maybe.
Nah,
not even that many, 10.
Maybe 5.
Okay, so percentage-wise, though, I mean, if you've already got the field, which you have, we're talking about tearing down the old part. By the way, I know a company, White Trash Site Services, could do that for you.
Talk to our congressman.
Tear that
because
down.
There's a state law that says they can't.
Oh yeah, that is so dumb. By the way, you're living in a little bitty small town, and the one company that's capable of tearing it down can't do it because she happens to be a giver and she's on the school board. Makes perfect sense. So we'll all pay more to bring somebody in from out of town to do it.
There you go.
But you could tear that down and build some, I call it space frame, but aluminum or galvanized, you know, steel structure. And then it could be fan friendly. And the stadium we went to, the game where I visited with you in Bastrop was a beautiful example. It was light years ahead of our stadium. In Bastrop.
The Bastrop Stadium, I can't remember. That was what, 75 million, I think, was the number I talked to you. Now, a lot of that was parking lot. 'Cause they
We've
had to
already
put
got
in-
the parking lot. It costs a
they
lot
had-
of money to put down a parking lot.
It costs a lot of money because you have to consider drainage, you have to consider park anyway, and then parking lot utilization. I mean, how are you using other besides? But anyway, they had that huge that scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
The video screen scoreboard, and that's what Sam's Stadium had. They had it as well,
Paid for by the sponsors that were on it, though.
and
you know?
and they had it was great to see it. But I told you, I know I told the superintendent because she was at the game. We were talking. I was like, they put that scoreboard too far back. You're not getting the full
Right.
ambiance of what that is because they put it behind the track. So I was like, we don't need a track. We need a track facility. Now, people were like, oh, you mean you need a track facility? I was like, well, think about this. You've got you've got at least 3 track teams at each high school. You got a varsity, a JV, and maybe a freshman track team, right?
Right.
And then you've got
Boys and girls.
And boys and girls. So then you've got 4 middle schools, right? So you got 4 middle schools. Each one of those have track teams. So you've got an opportunity to utilize a lot of track, and then you're in Victoria. So really, Brent, I tell people this: it takes some vision, right? It takes like somebody to say, you know what? Hey, Victoria's right here. We can get Corpus. We could get some South Houston, Sugar Land. We could get some San Antonio. We could have some really amazing track meets. We could
Yes.
utilize a lot of this stuff. It's the crossroads for a reason. In Victoria, the stadium complexes and those things might have been iconic years and years and years, decades ago. And it might have been the central facility for a lot of South Texas.
When I was a kid, there were lots of playoff games here.
But that time's moved on. I mean, I went to Yoakum and watched a youth football game, right? Yoakum Stadium. And
It's nice. I've
they-
been there
well,
for
they-
track meets. It's nicer than our
they
stadium.
came up with a solution to ADA compliant their press box. They have a little shaft back there that has a little elevator that gets people up and down. I was like, what is that? They're like, oh, that's the ADA elevator. I was like, that doesn't look like it took a lot, So,
Matt Oker makes a solid comment. Any way you want to cut it, it's still a solid comment. He says, if you want to destroy Victoria, keep driving around the state and engaging envy for what others have irresponsibly built. There is a lot to be said. I've made the comment forever that at the end of the day, you don't build a church for Easter Sunday. You don't build a stadium that'll hold everybody who might want to come to the East and West game. By the way, you make that ticket $10 instead of $5, and you help pay for the dang stadium. But yeah. So given that we're not doing sports right now, keep going back. Let's talk more about the $238 million and why people should be on board.
Well, like I said, it's a modernization effort. So you have a lot of elementary schools that initially they were small rural elementary schools, right? Because Victoria hadn't grown out to where it is now. So when these facilities were being built, Victoria grew out to them, and then they were added onto. And like I said, the last maintenance bond was in 2008. And so people were like, well, what's the difference? Y'all went out for a bond last November. I was like, that wasn't a bond. We didn't go out for a bond. That was a VATRI. Pardon me for being country, but that was the VATRI, right? So that was a different voter approval for tax that did not pass. So what we're doing now is just saying, okay, here's a bond. And initially, like I said, we started small, and it's grown to this, but that's been with the community's input from the committee that was nominated. So we've gotten to this point where it's about $240 million, and there's a lot more discussion to be had. But what we're doing is we're right-sizing the district. We're modernizing the district. So Vickers Elementary School. I mean, Vickers has been there for a long time. It's a staple.
Great school.
It's a great school. And we know from just, information that we've shared from you and I have been, that north side of town has really started to populate and grow out. So what can we do over there? Well, we can add on to Vickers and modernize the campus and make it something that's not stuck in the mid 60s that, when you drive by. We can fix some of the problems with traffic. We can fix some of these things, and we can add this to Vickers. Okay, well, let's do that. So that looks good. Instead of going in and building a brand new elementary school, we can, for half the cost, we can go in, we can make the elementary school look much better and accommodate more students and grow. There's issues. You got, we mentioned O'Connor. O'Connor's about 900 yards from Torres. They serve the same neighborhoods. So
I think it makes perfect sense to combine those.
And there's a lot of structural issues within O'Connor that would cost millions and millions and millions of dollars to fix, and you're still stuck with a campus that was originally built in 1956.
Are we concerned about the 5-year trend of a decline in students in VISD?
Not at the moment, because that trend is reversed this year. So
okay,
we have seen enrollment increase this year versus the last few. So I think was it 10 years? Over the past 10 years, VISD has lost about 2,000 students. That trend has changed starting this year.
I'd be curious to see statewide, because to me, 2,000 students over 10 years is not that big a deal, except that a number of our school districts in the state have grown by 20 and 30%. They're building things out of necessity. They don't have enough room to put the kids. And to a degree, we're being much more responsible. We're tearing down stuff that is old and combining. It's interesting to me that when I was at Howell, which was relatively new back in the mid to late 70s, Crane was ancient. And Crane is still integral to what we're doing.
So there were
as
parts
a district.
There were parts of Crane that were ancient. The part at Crane now is shiny and new. So Crane is it's staying put. It's a very nice new structure over there. It's in good shape. Howell needs some work, so that Howell's on there to do some work. But yeah, no, the thing about it is, you look back and it's like, okay, we were closer to 15,000 students 10 years ago than we are now.
Right.
We're at 12,500. We're on an uptick. But I look at, did we lose those students to private schools? Did we lose those students to
their parents moved? Parents moved other babies.
Did we lose them to other public schools that surround us? Where did those students go? Well, some of them have moved on. Some of them have transferred, graduated, whatever. But Victoria itself, we've addressed a lot of issues as a school board that so many people have voiced for so many years, right?
Right.
Hey, we don't like this. We don't like this. This is a problem here. And so you look at the school board now, and we're saying, okay, well, let's address these issues. And so let's fix this. Let's fix that. We have a rock star superintendent that, I think that's one of the things I'm proudest of, is we have somebody who has come in and said, okay, I see the issues. I see the issues with academics. I see the issues with the testing, and I see the issues with discipline. Let's address it. And she has just head on addressed it, and we're making those changes. And you feel a cultural shift, and you feel things that are just, there's so many good things that are happening, and she's leading that for us. And people are buying in.
I think she's been delightful, and no matter how you feel about school superintendency, she's accessible, she's personable, she's very, very, not blunt's not the word, and transparent's overused. She's very just forthright. Here's what we're going to do. Here's why we're going to do it. What do you think, and this is just me and you talking, take off your school board hat. If you look at the next year when school vouchers, the dreaded vouchers are available, what impact, if any, is it going to really have on VISD?
Very little. And that's just because I look at it, and the voucher program that they've designed, whether you like it or don't like it, I'm not a proponent of it. I don't feel like it's actual voucher system. I don't think it's going to affect us negatively.
No.
Because a lot of the feedback we see with students coming into VISD is they look at the services, they look at the sports, they look at the opportunities, they look at what VISD has to offer. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the STEM pathways, whether it's the dual credits, whether, it's all these abilities that these students can bring in, or capabilities that these students can come into and take advantage of. and say, you know, I want to progress. I want to progress my education. I want to, you know, achieve, and I want to do these things. And so they see it as a challenge. They see it as an opportunity.
Tell you what we've done, folks. We've reached the top of the hour. Do me a favor. You see the pink button over there?
That pretty one?
Touch it.
Okay.
And the knob closest to you, the button that push that up a little bit. Now push the pink button again. Push it up a little bit more. There you go. You can hear it good. We owe some sponsors. We'll focus on them tomorrow. Special thanks to Mike and Pat for coming in. There is a lot to talk about in this bond, and this was just the first time we're going to visit. We will visit again soon. Thank you, sir, for your time. Go get them, folks. Have a great day. We're out of here. Bye, folks.
120 through town. I've been shot and cut for the night. Messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't